Minkowski's inequality, and I just want to tell you a little bit about what goes into understanding that. It's connected to inverse forms of the Brun-Minkowski inequality. Now, the Brun-Minkowski inequality is really an inequality in odd dimensions greater than 1. So what I'm saying here is a one-dimensional version, which is a very simple thing. It's not really the Brun-Minkowski inequality at all, but that's the part that's really relevant. So Brun-Minkowski inequalities give lower bounds for measures of subsets. And for Borel subsets of the real line, the Brun-Minkowski inequality, the one-dimensional one, says the measure of a subset is greater than or equal to the sum of the measures. Now, of course, it can be much larger. We know that if you add two Cantor sets which are appropriately constructed, they can each have measure 0, and yet the sum can still have a whole interval. So there's certainly no upper bound for the measure of the subset in terms of the measures of the sums. But there is this nice lower bound. Equality is attained for intervals. If you add two intervals, the lengths of the measures and the lengths obviously add, and equality is not attained in any other cases except when you modify by null sets. Okay, so that's a one-dimensional Brun-Minkowski inequality, and what we need are what we ultimately want to know is a characterization of when we're close to equality here. So that situation is addressed by two classic theorems of Fremont which date back to the 1950s. So I'll call the first one, which I think is the better known one, I'll call this Fremont-Peak theorem. This is the classic version. So A and B now temporarily are finite sets, so think of integers. So we have finite sets of comparable cardinalities. So if the measure of the subset is less than or equal to K times the measure of the subset, remember the graph is twice, so if it's less than or equal to there's an upper bound for the rank of the multi-progression that depends only on K. This is actually the main tool that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to need it actually in the regime where K is arbitrarily large. You would think that I would need it only in the regime where K is like 2 plus a little bit, but in fact we need it for large values of K. For large values of K, the right dependence on K is not known. They're quantitative bounds, but they're perhaps not optimal, but those issues won't come in. I just need some sort of version, and the way that things depend on K is unimportant to me. Only the fact that they depend only on K will matter. Okay, then let's play Fremont theorem. So suppose that you have a finite subset of Z to the D, or Z. Suppose that A plus itself has a cardinality a little less than 3 times the cardinality of A. So remember, it's always at least twice, or at least twice the cardinality minus 1. So here we're within a factor of 3/2 of optimality. And if that happens, then A is contained in a progression of rank 1. So a discrete thing with only one step. And moreover, you get a bound for the cardinality of that progression, which is absolutely tight. It's exactly what you expect from looking at 10 simple things. So that is Fremont theorem. That's in the spirit of the kind of theorem I'm telling you about today. It's a theorem that addresses the case of when you're very close to optimization. In this case, minimization. Okay, now it's a very easy exercise to cast to the limit and to convert these to theorems to work with for Lebesgue measure. Lebesgue measure in Euclidean space for the first one, Lebesgue measure on the real line for the second one. And so one can use these in the continuum as well. That's not a problem. Okay. Now, over the last couple of years, I've written a whole series of papers which applied Fremont's little theorem, the one about being close to optimality in one dimension, to various inequalities that are affine invariant, for which extreme limits were known, and the theorems are characterized near extreme limits. So these inequalities are Young's inequality for convolution, the Brun-Minkowski inequality in arbitrary dimensions. A more quantitative form of this was done by Fagali and Joseph using the same idea subsequently. And the Weak-Sobolev inequality, which says that if you convolve two functions and integrate against a third, that's less than or equal to what happens if you symmetrize the three functions radially about the origin. Okay. But I have not found a way to apply this little theorem of Fremont to the Fourier transform. And so what I'm going to explain now is a method that uses the big theorem, the rather imprecise but very general one, in its place. Okay. And of course, symmetrization inequalities, rearrangement inequalities don't work well with the Fourier transform because cancellations involve this global and it doesn't seem to work. Okay. So here's a statement for Young's convolution inequality. So if you take two sets which have positive finite Lebesgue measures, and if the convolution of their indicator functions is as large as possible up to a factor of delta, then those sets are connected to continuum multi-progressions, so there exists a continuum multi-progression whose measure is appropriately controlled. So the intersection of that progression with the set A has reasonably large measure, proportional to the size of A itself, and the rank of the multi-progression is bounded above by a constant that depends only on delta. Okay. So what this gives you is it gives you the fact that a certain part of A has structure. Namely, roughly, it looks like one of these continuum multi-progressions. That's the kind of statement we want for quasi-extreme measures. Okay. Now, I told you about Fremont's theorem. Fremont's theorem gives you control if you know a bound for the entire subset. Here, you don't know a bound for the size of the entire subset, but what you do know is if the subset two sets is small, then many elements of a subset can be represented as sums in many ways. Here, the assumption is essentially just the latter, that many elements of the subset can be represented as sums in many ways. And there's another theorem of combinatorics which I'm suppressing, the Balax-Semeretti theorem, which bridges the gap between the hypothesis here and the hypothesis in Feynman's theorem, where you know that the entire subset is controlled. So I'm going to omit that in the thought, but this is another bit of combinatorics that needs to be used here. Okay. So now we're going to need a couple general facts about operators. These have nothing to do with the Fourier transform. This is just something about bounded linear operators. So C is a bounded linear operator from LP to LQ. And suppose that you have a function f which is a near extremizer for the inequality. Suppose you take that f and you split it in two parts with disjoint parts. If C is a part which has a norm which is bound below by a constant times the norm of f, then C need not be a near extremizer, but it has to at least be a quasi-extremizer. So the norm of T of C is bounded below by a power of the quality theta times the norm of C. The principle here is if you have a team that's trying to achieve some goal, everybody in the team has to contribute. It's wasteful if part of the team contributes something. The second part says that the team has to work together towards a common goal. So if you decompose f as a sum of c and psi, and if both c and psi have norms that are bounded below by a constant times the norm of f, if you multiply t of c times t of psi and make it LQ over 2 norm, as you should, then that again is bounded below in an appropriate way. So this says if you split the function in two, if they both have a reasonable size, then the two parts have to work together to make c of f large. So those are very reasonable things, and they're very elementary to prove. Okay. Here is a preliminary statement about the structure of functions that nearly extremize the Hausdorff-Young inequality. So we're given that f is a near extremizer. Norm of f is greater than or equal to 1 minus delta times the maximum possible. Let epsilon be greater than 0, and then if f is close enough to extremizing, then you can decompose f as before. So f is the sum of two parts of disjoint supports. Associated to this, there's one of these continuum multi-progressions. One part we don't know much about, but it has very small norm. The smallest we want relative to the norm of f. And the other part is structure. So G is supported on this multi-progression. G satisfies an appropriate L infinity type bound, and the rank of the multi-progression is bounded above by some unity test only on epsilon. Suppose for a minute you had an actual extremizer. It's a Gaussian. I want to capture a Gaussian in one of these continuum multi-progressions. I can't do it. The best you can do is to take a very large ball, and then you capture almost all of the mass of the Gaussian, and a little bit is left out. So in that example, the unstructured part would be the part of the function near infinity. The progression would just be the ball, and G would be the part of the Gaussian that lives inside the ball. Okay? But in general, the theorem doesn't give us that kind of picture. It also gives us the discrete parts of the multi-progression, and the rank of that discrete part is controlled, but that's all we know about it. It could be extremely sparse. Okay, so the way you prove this is we know about quasi-extremizers. So you apply that lemma, and you split f as a part that has some structure and a part whose norm is slightly smaller than the norm of f. The part that's slightly smaller than the norm of f either has negligible norm or it has pretty big norm, in which case it's a quasi-extremizer. So you split it as another part that has structure, plus something with a yet smaller norm. And you just do this over and over again until almost no norm is left. You get a sum with an enormous number of terms. Each one has its own continuum multi-progression. And that's not the statement here. My statement has only a single multi-progression, so there's an extra step missing. We prove that all those multi-progressions aren't compatible, and their union is contained in a single multi-progression whose size and rank are still controlled. Okay. So that comes to the principle that all parts have to work together. All right. So there's a number of steps here. Okay. So this part just says what I just said to you orally. You just take a little bit at a time while you keep going. So this gets us to a decisive juncture. We now know that any near extremizer looks roughly, very roughly, like this picture. You have this continuum multi-progression, you have some sort of infinity bound, you have a little bit of norm left over. The main thing you don't know is that they could potentially have a discrete part, and this discrete part could potentially have rather high rank. So what we want to do is we want to replace this picture by a picture that looks more like this, a single interval or convex set. And that is really a decisive step of the proof. Okay, so I haven't given any hint yet about how that is done. Okay, so before I explain to you that decisive step, I'm just going to skip ahead and tell you about the other steps of the proof that come after it. Okay, and then we'll go back to the main step. So the next thing that happens is a stroke of real good fortune. All the people in the audience who are specialists in partial differential equations know that when you prove a precompactness argument,